Hi all. Right, welcome back. D-Day at Saipan. This will be part 28. Just done 27 today. And put it together, viewed it back, and I've actually just uploaded it now, so it's there for the viewing. Not enough of what again. Some comment, it's funny, I say there's not enough of what to talk about, and 16 minutes later I'm still talking before doing anything else. So made a comment on that in the header, and then the daft moment of what was it? Yeah, it was counting up. It was counting up the odds here, and I end up with a strength of 3-2, and then and then look at the table, and I say, right, well that's 1-1, or is it 3-2? And then I say, oh, I'm gonna have to go and work that one out. I don't really know how they work out very well. You can see I've struggled with them, but clearly that's an obvious 3-2 grant, you know. So yeah, possibly something I should have deleted to avoid some, me looking dafter than I actually am. But anyway, well, that's how the mind works sometimes. Okay, so where we at? Right, we've done the artillery phase. I think I was happy with everything. I did look back in the video to find out about this headquarters and why it was there on its own. And I couldn't see. I think these landed. I'm not sure. Well, hang on, Grant. You'll be able to know when they landed. Was it 3rd Battalion, 2nd? So that wasn't game turn 5 that we just had. Was it game turn 4 then? Yeah. So they landed on game turn 4, and then we must have moved them, and for some reason, I must have decided that it was a good idea to move that headquarters in on its own there. I'm not sure why, because it doesn't look very clever. And it looks less clever in the fact that we now also know that if it had been stacked with other units, it could have commanded them. I do have that right, don't I? I mean, if they're out of command... Hang on. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking in the book for that. And that was one of the questions Martin asked, wasn't it? That it's not really said that what happens to them when they're out of command. So it was the answer... Joe did answer that question with they can only move themselves... But it does say that units stack with them, does it not, somewhere? An infantry battalion HQ is always in command of itself, but then it talks where it must be in command from its superior HQ, and from its superior regimental HQ. And the important note, and that's I think why Martin had to sort of ask the question there about. Oh. No, that's not it. That's not it. Hang on. Yeah, that's right. It was a question Martin had asked. Eventually got the answer. So battalion HQs that are out of command only command units that they are stacked with. So they've got a range of 0 basically, and that's what makes that look a bit silly. But I guess I wasn't thinking. I think Martin actually said he commented. Somewhere maybe a message to me saying I think he scrapped his game. Just a lot of things, just probably just because we're not really clear on a lot of things, and then he realises that he would make a lot of things move differently because you're not really sure about that. Well, I wasn't really paying that much attention. I certainly never thought about the fact that this could get its command from that. However, it does say that another battalion, from the same division, from a different regiment, but from the same division. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that guy on his own, he can move by himself, but if he was stacked with a couple of these, he would be able to move them as well. They would get a move too, whereas they are out of range. And it's all out of range, and none of them are going to... Well, these guys are within two of this. So that works. Well, we knew this headquarters was in 2 because we planned that We just didn't think about these other 2nd Regiment units coming on board. Anyway, okay. Right, so we've done that was me wondering. Not sure why he ended up there. And of course, he ended up taking a hit. That's the other downside to leaving these units on their own in a hex is, if the hex is going to get hit, you've no other place to put the damage, you know, because remember that's a star symbol, so it was intense fire, but it wasn't the symbol, you know. So any other unit in that hex we could have hit before that, but well, there was nothing there, and it was the priority. So there we go. Right. Okay, so I think we're moving into this HQ phase. So we're going to have a go at this, I think. Probably just going to do that tonight. That'll probably be me. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It might be a complete failure, this as well, or it might go in pretty quick and we'll get the event. But I'm not so sure I'm going to get a fire phase in. I've not got loads of time. Okay, so I'm just looking at the sequence track, and the first phase here, phase 1, is place garrison markers in eligible position hexes within command range of a US command post. 14.4. Well, we don't have any command posts. 14.4. That's a wrong rule reference then. My guess is 15.4 maybe. Yeah, it's 15.4, so that's a wee misprint there. And then it tells you about placing garrison markers. They need to be either occupied by or adjacent to a US unit, and the unit is in the command range of the CP. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a command post then. Hang on. Okay, I thought that I said it had to be command post then. What was I reading? It's on the sequence track, Grant. Place garrison markers in eligible position hexes within command range of a USCP. That seemed to suggest that it had to be a command post, but according to this, it should be 15.4 on page 28. Placing garrison markers during the USHQ phase, you may place garrison markers in position hexes if the hex is occupied by or adjacent to a US unit, and the unit is in the command range of its command post / regimental HQ, and in US communication, and not in the field of fire of a Japanese unit, even if disrupted. If these requirements are met, place a garrison marker in the position hex. Any number of garrison markers may be placed in a single US HQ phase, but no more than one garrison marker may be placed per hex. I think this is wrong. I think it has to be a command post, is it not? I don't think it can just be a regimental HQ there. Let's just take an example here, possibly this hex here. Yeah, goes blue and brown fires into there. I'm getting a bit closer. So blue and brown fires into this position hex, right? So we don't have any Japanese field of fire into that hex. And this is occupied by a US unit. It's in command of this. Well, we believe. Tanks, I'm still not sure. And like the fact that we're going to shortly get to step 4 about assigning tank and engineer units to US battalions. I can't do anything with that. I don't know what to do with that. I'm just going to have to skip by that until we get an answer about that. No idea what it means. That satisfies. It's occupied by or adjacent to a US unit. It's in the command range of its. It's not in the command range of its command post, but it says command post / regimental HQ. So it's in the command range of its regimental HQ. And it's in US communication. Yep, it is. And it's not in the field of fire Japanese unit, even disrupted. So can we garrison that? I'm sure the previous games you had to be a command post. Yeah, because it spread out its range, and then that's how you got the garrisons, didn't it? I think the fact that we've still got the regimental HQ, because we can move this regimental HQ. Whereas a command post you can't. I think that's wrong. I mean, unless I'm reading it wrong, but to me it would suggest either command post or regimental HQ. But I feel. Let's look at the other. Well, I'll put all the other boxes away because I was trying to tidy up a bit. But I do have Iwo Jima still here. Okay, Iwo Jima's rules. It's rule 15 as well. Page 39, 15.4. Placing garrison markers. During the US HQ phase, you may place garrison markers in position of hexes, meeting all the below requirements. And then it talks about some other things. The below requirements are in the command range of a command post, occupied by or adjacent to a US unit, in US communication, not in the field of fire of Japanese unit, even if disrupted. So, I'm pretty sure it has to be a command post. Because even on the sequence track, it actually specifies, it says hexes within command range of a US command post. Yeah, and it was definitely like that in the older games. It was. I remember, even in, we played Omaha. Because, it goes back to them as well. It's the same. You establish a command post, then it starts spreading out its range, then you start garrisoning. So I'm assuming that that's just not very well written there. But by all means tell me if I can do that. I think that would be too strong. Because then, we could garrison here. Well, not there obviously, but we could garrison that hex and then we could move this HQ away further inland and still have that position garrisoned. So I don't think that's right. If it is, it's the first game that they brought that in, but I just guessing that's just. Yeah, I'm not going to do it because I don't think it's right. Okay, move on. So there's no point looking at that because we don't have any command posts yet. So next option is number 2 is convert a regimental HQ unit to a command post and increase the command range of previously established command posts. Well, we've not got any previously established, like we said, so we could convert. Now, the restrictions for that are how I felt they were. Where's this? This has got 14.1 as well, which I think is 15.1, so I think they're... Yeah, it's 15.1, isn't it? Establishing a command post. The numbers are wrong. So a regimental HQ may convert to a command post in any hex that is not in the field of fire of any Japanese position. So this one here that we're looking at is in green field of fire, so we cannot convert that to a command post. And I think even if it's, I want to say if it's disrupted, it doesn't matter. Mind you, it doesn't say that. If a Japanese occupied position, here we go. Maybe it doesn't mention disrupted, but if a Japanese occupied position or an unoccupied position in Japanese communication projects a field of fire in the HQ's hex, the HQ may not convert into a CP. No mention of disrupted unit there, which tends to make me think that it doesn't matter if it's disrupted or not, it's still going to prevent you from doing this. So, yeah, I mean, this position up here is it's not in communication, mind you. Well, actually, that might be in communication. Because if this guy shouldn't be here, and I've not got an answer to that question yet about the LBTAs, if they should still be around. Yeah, kind of important to know because there is quite a few of them. And that one's actually quite relevant, the fact that it's stopping communication, but if it wasn't there, that green position would be in communication. However, that might not actually prevent Well, let's look at some of the HQs for an option then. So what fires into here? Yellow. It's just yellow that fires into there, right? So we could convert that to a command post. Do we want to do that? You know what, maybe we do. You've got to remember that the most that you can get, the most range you can get is 6 hexes. So let's look at the bigger picture here. And we want to try and get as much as we can. So if it was here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, if we were going to win this game, all the white markers with red infantry symbols on their back, they all need to be going away. And there's some other things that need to happen too. But yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would stretch out to there, so we wouldn't get that one. But I mean, you're not going to be able to get everything. So 1, 2, 3. It would get that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would get that. And when I say it would get these, what I mean is it's within range to garrison. I mean, we still need to get up to that, get a unit in it, and then garrison it, or get a unit adjacent to it. And, well, to be honest, if it's adjacent to it and it's still empty, then... it's only... yeah, that's talking about how to convert the unit, but I think... I want to say, where does it tell you? Capabilities of command post. No, it's garrisons. If a garrison ends up being in Japanese field of fire, it'll get removed, I think. Removed if alone in a position hex, if that position is in the field of fire of a Japanese unit performing a fire action, or if a Japanese unit enters its hex. So, you know, there are cases where it's not just a case of, right, we've got a garrison there, let's forget all about it. You've got to be wary about certain things as well. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm assuming it's getting to there as well. And obviously we've got, how many? There's 8 regimental HQs in the game. I think I read. Now, do we have them? Well, I'm assuming the army have their own one, so maybe there's 1 or 2 in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm seeing 5. Oh, 1 still to come on board. So that would be 6. I think that would probably make sense, and there's maybe 2 army ones. 27th Division. Command range. There's an HQ command range for the 165th Regiment. Regimental HQ. Yeah, there's a 165th Regiment. Maybe there's only 1. I don't know. No, I get the feeling there's 2. Where are we? 165th Regimental HQ and 105th Regimental HQ. There you go. So there's 2 army ones that come in later on in the game. So we've got 5 on ashore. We've got 1 in the water waiting to land. So they are going to be spread out throughout the map. So should we maybe do this? Maybe. Yeah. Why not? Why not? And then what it lets us do, it'll let us garrison the likes of, well, would it? No, see, because blue fires into there, it's not going to let us garrison, is it? And I'm pretty sure if I look up the rules for garrison, placing garrisons, not in the field of fire of a Japanese unit, even if disrupted. So that's the thing, it's not just a case of, right, we can pop one there, but this red, blue fires into that. That's where you've got to go in and clear a bit more. The yellow position here we would get. This green position, I believe we would get. So we'd be able to garrison them. But we need a range of 1, 2... Well, we get that initially, so that's good. And in fact, we might be able to garrison that hex right away then. Possibly. And then we need a range of 3 to get to there, so... Okay, why not do it? Why not do it with this one? Okay, it might be silly, but I think first time playing the game, you're going to see what you need to achieve. I've got to assume that we've got to take this top corner, so that's pretty far up the top corner. Whereas it's maybe a bit trickier as you go along the map here to decide where you're going to put. You know, should we sort of set our HQ here, a command post here, maybe when we've got to get way up here. So maybe we should keep this all moving up, you know. And to an extent, this 8th one as well. Maybe I think we should probably progress up to here, so that it then maybe stretches up to these hexes. Maybe I don't know. Let's do it then. So a command post may right. To establish a command post, flip the HQ to its command post side during the US HQ phase and place the matching command range marker in the first space of the command range track. And it says important, this is not an action. So let me flip this guy over. So command post 6, Marine Regiment of the 2nd Marine Division. So now we get the command range marker for it, and it goes down in here, and it goes in the first space. So basically, it has the same as what the regimental HQ had to start with. Now, next turn in the HQ phase, we get to move it up to 3, so it increases its range. Unfortunately, this is 1, moves up to 3 again, and then we go 4, 5, 6. This was... I did notice Martin's question. Let me go and see it again while I'm looking at that. It took me a while to find that one. I know I'd seen it. So Martin asked the question, basically asking for some errata, because on page 27, rule 15.2.2 is duplicate ranges on track. It says command range values may be repeated on the track. As we can see, I'll move that out of the way just now. As we can see, it goes 2, 3, then the next turn you're only going to go at 3 still, and then 4, 5, 6. However, the example is, it then follows with an example. Command range 2 appears in 3 boxes in a row. Well, you can see that's not what we've got here, meaning that it takes at least 3 game turns to increase a command post range from 2 to 3. So, at least command range 2 appears in 3 boxes in a row. Well, that can't be right, because then we wouldn't get to 6. 2, 2, 2, 3, unless it goes 2, 2, 2, 4, 5, 6, which would seem a bit odd. Yeah, you never got an answer to that though. So I'm not sure. What's your take on that then, Martin? Do you think it should be as is here, or do you think it should be different due to that example? How do you play it? He's not got an answer to that question. I thought, I'm a little surprised you never added that to your questions then, Martin. Maybe you forgot, or it doesn't look like you got an answer. So, well, let me know if you did, and if not, let me know what conclusion you came to. What I think we'll do is play it as it is here. But strange that it spells that out though, doesn't it? It actually spells out that it's going to take you at least 3 game turns to increase your range from 2 to 3. That kind of tells you that this should be different. Okay. Well, yeah, let me know, Martin. Let me know what conclusion you came up with it. Okay, so it keeps. I mean, we do no harm with that. You know, it's not as if it reduces its range. It's still the same range. Now we can abandon a command post as well. Command post may revert to a regular HQ unit during the US headquarters phase. So we have to do it in this phase. I'm not sure it states on what step you need to do it. Whether that matters or not, but probably doesn't, to be honest. We would just flip it to its other side, but if we do that, we remove that command range track. So if we manage to get that up to 6, and then decide, oh no, we've made a blunder here, we really need to move that, then we've lost all that range, and it flips back over. It can then move, however, its range just goes back to its 2 as it is as a regimental HQ. Okay. So that's it, right, we've done that. So, and then it says a command post may not move, but gains a command range that increases over time, enabling it to command US units up to 6 hexes away. A command post also enables the placement of US garrison markers in certain position hexes. Well, there kind of tells you there that that's what places the garrisons, not the actual regimental HQ. I just think that's a word that shouldn't be in there where it says it in the rules, wherever I read it, can't remember. Right, okay, so are we going to do any more then, Grant, or do we have the option to do any more? I think we looked at this one already, didn't we? Yeah, green fires into there, so that's a no anyway. And then that one's still in the water. This one, no, yellow's firing into there, and we've still got a yellow position here. Like I say, I get the feeling we probably would want to move this up a little bit. You know, maybe get up to this blue position, maybe, and then establish it. I don't know, maybe. I know it was always difficult in the games of the past about when you do it, you know. And I think I seem to recall my DD at Omaha Beach playthrough placing it and then actually removing it again and moving it further, which kind of slows you a little bit too, but if you then realise you've placed it at the wrong spot. So hang on, that was 1, 2, 3. Well, the one in the water makes 4, so there should be 2 more. So we've got this one here. Now what fires into there? This hex looks a bit. I was looking at that, wondering. Let me have a look at that hex. No, it's okay. It's got a step loss, so I thought it might have been overstacked, or was it concentrated? But it was in a safe hex, really. You know, I think I'd be wary about. But anyway, that's what 7. That's only 9 steps, yeah. So that's in this hex here. That's where the headquarters is. Now it's only blue firing into there, and we are in control of blue, so we could establish the command post there. You've got to also remember that it's not all about just placing these garrisons, because once your units move away, they're getting their command from that command post, so they can only stretch out 6 hexes as well. I kind of feel like we've got to move on a bit, and maybe looking at possibly this position or that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, and then we'd be able to stretch back and get garrisons, but then all that takes a lot of time, so and you might say, well, yeah, it'd be nice to be able to garrison everything and move away, because then nothing can appear here, but it's not quite possible to do it all, so you've got to watch your back. There's what's the tricky one? Is it letter I, infiltration, isn't it? The infiltration action. And in an unoccupied hex, right, that says in communication. Is this not the one that doesn't have to be in communication? I want to say. That says position must be in Japanese communication. I thought that was the one that allowed you to not, for the hex not to be in communication, you could still do it. That's what made it even brutal. Even more brutal, should I say. Right, where are we? Lettered actions. Infiltrate action eligible position type, unoccupied Japanese position, not in Japanese communication, and within 3 axes of a US unit. Well, it doesn't say that in the chart, does it? Nope. On the chart it says position must be in Japanese communication. In the rulebook it says it's not in Japanese communication and within 3 axes of a US unit. So, in actual fact, the way it's worded there, that if the position was in Japanese communication, you wouldn't do the action, I think. So that's maybe something to remember. But then, if the position is in Japanese communication, then you've got to worry about the R action, the reinforce action, because that needs to be that's an occupied position in Japanese communication. I mean, the big one with these is it still needs to be within 3 hexes of a US unit, but you can see the amount of US units that are scattered all over the place. So it's quite easy to actually achieve that, you know. Anyway, yeah, so these are things that you got to think about, you know. Like this position right now is not in Japanese communication. If we draw in the Japanese fire phase, if we draw a yellow eye, that'll infiltrate. And what happens with infiltrate action, you may ask? Place a unit from the Japanese reserve unit pool, but not a depth marker, in the position. The unit does not fire in the Japanese fire phase in which it is placed. If there are more positions eligible for infiltration than available units, place the units in the hexes that are closest to US units. So, yeah, so it's nice to think we've got this cut off. It can't reinforce, but it can infiltrate. So that's what makes the game brutal, though. Like, you think you've got everything covered, and then... But yeah, I mean, all of this is taken from... I think that's pretty much the same throughout the games. Most of these lettered actions are. I was a bit, obviously, surprised by the mortar action being the way it is, but however, there are some changes. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to do this. Oh, sorry, I'm saying this is empty, isn't it? This is where these guys are. Sorry. Another grand moment. Okay, so yeah, I think we'll leave that, and yeah, I get the feeling that something's firing into there, isn't it? Even if it wasn't, I don't think we're ready to sort of like establish anything there. We've got a lot of work to do around there, really. A lot of tough. This, you know, it's starting to bug me a bit about the fact this maybe shouldn't be here. Again, if Joe was to come along and say something now, would I move that and that other unit? It'd probably be a bit messy to really try and move them, wouldn't it? I'm probably just as well accepting that. I mean, it's just the fact that it's a really strong position, isn't it? It's in the woods as well, isn't it? Oh no, it's on a hill. No, not a hill, Grant. It's in the rough. It's in the rough. Right, 1.5 times. It's still bad. Okay, so I think we'll just settle with that one HQ converting to command post. So what's the next step? Expend replacement points to rebuild units and replace step losses. Now this is rule 16. And I was reading this recently as well, as I've moved on, so I was reading all these. So I've got the general gist of this, although I was confused a bit to how they got the replacement points, but it's in the rules. But it's yeah, it's a little bit. It says well, for every 2 tanks units that you've got in reserve, you get 1 tank replacement received that game turn. For every 2 engineer units in reserve, 1 engineer replacement is received that game turn. For every US rifle/infantry battalion. Why does it say rifle/infantry battalion? Are the army units called rifle battalions? Maybe they are. Maybe guessing that could be the case. So for every battalion, which is all 4 of the companies, right, in reserve, you get 2 infantry replacement steps. So that kind of tells me that you need to have them all in reserve. However, there's an exception here which says that if a company or companies of a battalion have been eliminated, the remaining 3 or 2 companies count as a full battalion in reserve. The remaining 3 or 2 companies count as a full... Yeah, okay. Yeah. So if you've lost 2 companies of a battalion, then it's only 2 companies that you need to put in reserve to benefit and get the 2 points. Yeah, that's right. Okay. The important note, a maximum of 2 infantry replacement steps may be received for each full battalion per day. I'm not quite sure how you could get more than 2, because you get 2 per day. Ah, right, yeah, okay. Because obviously we've got 3 turns in the day now. We've got, you've got an AM, a mid and a PM. That first day consists of 4 turns, whereas the rest are all 3 turns, aren't they? AM, mid and PM. So, yeah, so you're only getting them once per day. I wonder how you track that. Is that going... how would you track that? Okay. So, okay, how do we... That tells you how to get the points. They need to be in reserve. So... This is us expending replacement points to rebuild the units, right? Okay. So I think we get the points when we achieve these units in reserve. So if I manage to get a whole battalion, hang on. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, distraction there again. Can't remember when. I was watching back. That was one thing I meant to mention. I got distracted while doing the last part, and I was about to talk about something, and then when I came back, I'd been away for a wee bit, and I forgot all about it. And it was regarding the victory conditions to carry on into the next, from scenario 1 into the next part. And we talked about the victory points that you needed. Again, we're still not sure about all that, but however, there was one other condition, and I never really checked it, and that was you had to have not lost how many. It was a bit of a tricky one to track, this, I think. I think this is something that you probably should track from the beginning of your game. I know it's maybe a little bit bookkeeping, but 18.1, 18.2, yeah, 18.24. This is the victory conditions for scenario 1 to win it. The player wins. Well, I suppose if we're carrying on, maybe this doesn't come into it. Number 1 is that it says the US player wins if 1, the US forces have not suffered more than 50 infantry step losses by the end of game turn 4, and the US players attained a minimum of 24 victory points. Well, we got 20 victory points. Well, we think we may have got 20 victory points. Well, the jury's still out on that one. However, 50 infantry step losses, you can see how to track that. As I don't want to go and look through all these stacks to see how many steps that I've lost. So I think if I was to play this again, every time I took a step loss, I would note it down somewhere. Or is there a... Well, that track only goes up to 39 anyway. You just think maybe there was, a wee marker that you could use to say how many steps you'd lost, and keep a track of it anyway. Because that comes in the later scenarios as well, I think. No, that's the start. That's the starting of the scenarios, though, isn't it? I'm sure. I thought I'd read it somewhere else about. Maybe it's the final conditions. I thought I'd read it somewhere. Is it not? The end of victory conditions for step 3. No, maybe not. Maybe it was just that one, but... Right, anyway. Replacements. Well, we've no reserve units, so we can't have gained any replacement points. So we're not at that stage yet. Step 4 of the HQ phase is this assigned tank and engineer units to US battalions part. I don't know, Joe had commented that it had to be units from that were in reserve, so I've started understanding how you put units. Well, we're step 5 is place units and HQs into reserve, so that we're just moving on to that step just now. So, but I think I don't even think Martin's come up with any solution to how that's meant to work or what it actually means even. So we'll leave that for now and maybe get an answer some point. So place units and HQs in reserve, right? This is step 5. So where is it? Where do we read about that? Replacement steps, reserve. US units are placed. This is page 28, 16.2. The rule is called reserve. And it says US units are placed in reserve by marking them with a reserve marker, which there is markers for that. While in reserve, the only action they may take is to receive replacements. There's a good bit to this though, because this next bit, right, something's cropped up right now. I'm getting, yeah. I'm going to have to leave things for now. Something's came up, so yeah. I'll add on to this bit though. That's only at 40 minutes. I don't know. We've not even got through this HQ phase, but hopefully I can decide, because I might be wanting to put a few units into the reserve bit. But I guess that's quite something to think about, to be honest. So it looks like there might be quite a lot to think about with that one. Might take a bit of time, so I'll just cut for now and then hopefully add it on to the end of this bit. Okay, so I'll be back later. Cheers. Hi all. Right, this will be the closing part of closing half of part. It's 28, is it? Yeah, I think I've got 27 out there. Yeah, this must be part 28, and I think I was 40 minutes in or so, wasn't I? So, and I didn't have time to finish it last night. So, yeah, but we're talking about the reserve part. This is kind of the last part of the HQ phase and placing units into reserve. Right, I don't think I went through this. So page 28, 16.2 reserve. US units are placed in reserve by marking them with a reserve marker. So here's the requirements. So units may not be placed in reserve in the field of fire of a Japanese occupied position. Again, no mention of disrupted position there, so it just says Japanese occupied position. Whether it is or not, I can only assume from that it means it could be disrupted, and that would be okay. It's strange though, because sometimes they highlight that, and then sometimes they're not. So anyway, we'll assume that is the case. While in reserve, the only action they may take is to receive replacements. And then I'm assuming these go in order. This HQ phase goes in order. Step 1 is place garrison markers. Step 2 would be convert regimental HQs. Yeah, because you then couldn't, if you converted it, well, as we done there, in fact, yeah, I remember looking back on the bit of footage that I've just done and saying, I don't think this is the case, and saying that because we've got a command post here, this is in range, it's not in the field of fire, we can garrison this hex. However, we're past that step, and I'm pretty sure it does follow the steps, doesn't it? Now where is the HQ phase in the book then? Or is it not really, it's not really a phase as such, is it? It's just, it moves about between different bits. Let me see what it says in the book regarding the sequence of play with that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've got to follow the order. Yeah, to be honest, I'm being a bit daft here, I think. You look at the sequence of play on page 9, rule 4. D-Day at Saipan's played in game turns. Each game turn consists of 9 phases. Each game turn is conducted in the order given below. So it's done in this order. It says move the phase marker along the turn sequence track to track current phase. During a game turn, the player will be required to draw cards. Yeah. Because, you know, step 1, US amphibious operation phase, you conduct a landing check. Then you move the units into the beach box. Then you place the new units. You know, you can't do them out of order. So, in the HQ phase, first of all, we place garrison markers, right? Right, well, we've not got any command posts, so we cannot. We then convert HQs to command posts, which we've done. So now we've lost the chance now, this turn, to place the garrison, because that was in step 1. In step 3, units in reserve may garner and receive replacement points to rebuild units and replace step losses. So again, we've not received, we've not got any replacement points yet, so we can't do that step. Step 4 is the one that's the mystery, assign tank and engineer units. Step 5, units in reserve may remove their reserve marker. Actually, that's not on the sequence of play in the. This is from the book. So that is a step that you would remove the reserve marker and exit the reserve, and then step 6, although it's step 5 on the actual sequence track play raid, place units into reserve. Units are marked with a reserve marker, and this is a good bit about it, and the sort of bit that's going to tempt you a bit into doing it, I think. Remove all disruption markers from units placed in reserve. So it kind of, you know that you're not going to do much. Well, a unit that's disrupted right now, all this stack of units here, for instance, are all disrupted. They're not going to be able to, well, all they're going to be able to do is do a preservation move, maybe. In fact, no, because they're not in a beach landing box, and they're not adjacent to a Japanese unit. So all they're going to do is remove their disruption. So why not put them in reserve? That removes the disruption as well. And to be honest, it's well worth doing it, because as I've just said, in step 5, we can remove the reserve marker and exit them from reserve. So if we go into the next turn and they're sitting in reserve, then we could, if we felt, oh right, I don't really want them in reserve, take the reserve marker off them. Because it's obviously going to take 2 turns for them to benefit from this placing of into reserve. Because if I put these into reserve just now, then as we come along next turn, we can then gain replacement points and rebuild the units. Oh, actually, no. Because that step would come first, so that seems to say to me that I could put these guys in reserve just now, and it's maybe better than I thought then. And then come next turn, obviously I can't do anything with them the rest in the US action phase, but remember these are disrupted anyway. Now it depends what's in this stack. It might not be worthwhile, you know. Remember, you've got to put a whole battalion into the reserve to benefit, to get the points. So it might not work out worthwhile anyway. But let's just say, I don't know. Let's just say there's 2 engineer units in there and they're disrupted. Well, we would get. Let me go away at the back of the book again. I think for every 2 engineer units you were getting a point, weren't you? For every 2 engineer units in reserve, 1 engineer replacement is received at game turn. At game turn? That doesn't make sense, because I can't use them. For every 2 engineer units in reserve, I think what it means is that when we come around the next turn, we're then going to see that there's 2 engineer units in reserve. Yeah, because that's step 3, and we're at step 6 right now. Yeah, okay, I think that's how it works. So let's just say these are 2 engineer units. We put these guys in reserve. We come along next turn to step 3. we then have one available engineer replacement point. Yeah? That can be used for that game turn. And then we can then assign that replacement point we can then, one of the engineers, and well, to be honest, it doesn't have to be one of the engineers, I think. It just gives you one engineer replacement point. You could then use that one engineer replacement point. Then after that, once you get to step 5, and like I say, I'm looking in the rulebook here because it seems to miss a step on their sequence track. The units in reserve may remove their reserve marker and exit reserve. We could then take the marker off that. They've got the replacement point, and now they're then free to do something in the US action phase. So that's better than I thought. Yeah, so they're only losing this. They're only losing the one turn. Anything I put in reserve just now is not going to be able to do anything in the US action phase. So that's a downside to it. However, next US action phase, I can remove them. I can have removed them from reserves before we reach that, and then they can do stuff. And I don't think there's any disadvantage apart from that to putting them into reserve. I don't think there's any sort of extra risks regarding them getting hit or anything like that. I've not came across anything like that anyway. Right, but as you can see, there's a lot to go and look at here. And obviously, I'm going to have my eye on the disrupted units and seeing if I can maybe make the most of them. I mean, let's just have a look at this one. There's a stack here, for instance. There's maybe just one unit, to be honest. I think it is, yeah. So that's heavy weapons of the 25th Regiment. Right, I would have to pick a heavy weapons unit, wouldn't I? Because I think that's slightly different. Let me just see, hang on. Okay, so 16.1 replacement steps, page 28. US player receives replacements that can be used to replace eliminated steps. There are 3 types of replacement steps: tank, engineer, and infantry. Each step normally replaces a step loss of the appropriate type of unit. Okay. One infantry step is used to replace any step that a battalion HQ has lost. So it's going to be one for any kind of infantry unit, I think. However, apart from, the next one is 2 steps are required to replace a lost heavy weapons company step. Received replacements must be used the game turn they are received. Yeah, so we don't actually receive them by putting the reserve on it. They'll receive them next time. Right. Unlike other games in the series, only units in reserve may gain and receive replacements. Yeah, I had wondered about if any of their eliminated units could come back, but I'm not sort of seeing that. So, well, that kind of tells you there. It's only units that are marked in reserve. Oh! Okay, so I'm lying there. Right, okay, no. These important notes are important. What, you know, go figure. Yeah, unlike other games in the series, I can only think this means Iwo Jima, because I don't think any of the older games had this reserve replacements. I don't think. It says only units in reserve may gain and receive replacements. So in actual fact, it is the units that you're marking in reserve. That kind of makes more sense right now. It'd be a bit easier if I could, obviously I'd pick disrupted units and then I'd give the point to somebody else, you know. So that doesn't work that way. Right, I'm hoping to not spend an awful lot of time at this, but I feel like it is something that's going to... yeah, so and then it goes on, for every 2 tank units in reserve, 1 tank replacement is received for that game turn. For every 2 engineer units in reserve, 1 engineer replacement is received that game turn. And it says a maximum of 1 tank and 1 engineer replacement may be received each day. And then it goes on about the infantry. We've been through this. We need all 4 companies to either be, if they're eliminated, that's okay. If they're eliminated, we only count what's left. But it needs to be the whole battalion that's on the map, doesn't it? It needs to be the whole battalion. If there's one missing, then we need to put the other 3 in reserve to benefit from this. And if we do that, we get 2 infantry replacements. How can we... Well, I'm saying how can we put the heavy weapons unit into reserve, because it doesn't count towards getting the points. Now, that's not really what it's saying. So if we want to replace this, we would need to put this in reserve. Now that would give us no benefit towards the points. It wouldn't contribute to gaining points. However, we would need to put it into reserve to be able to give it its replacement. And remember, we need 2 steps to replace that point. Okay. Right, let me start having a little look and see if I can come up with something. Right, I ended up being on pause quite a bit there. And not just looking over these things that I got dragged away and I've been away taking dogs out, etc. It turns out that because a unit can't be put into reserve if it's in the field of fire of a Japanese occupied position, that it's not quite as there's not quite as many options, obviously. All these things here, they're all in red, blue fire, or yellow or brown fire down there. So there's not a lot of options. And when we look down here, even here, when I was looking at this stack, which isn't in a field of fire, it's part of the 3rd Battalion of the 25th Regiment. Now, the Battalion HQ and 2 of the infantry companies are in there. However, we would need to put the other one in reserve as well, and it's the one that's in here, in the field of fire of that red. So it kind of rules that out. Well, it doesn't rule out me putting these into reserve, but there's not any point if I'm not going to benefit. I need to put the whole battalion into reserve. So yeah, it kind of pointless. I can't put that in reserve either, because I was saying that would get rid of the disrupted marker, but because it's in the field of fire, same with these disrupted units under here, I can't even put them in. This one I think's in green, yeah, so he cannot be put into reserve. And just looking for the disrupted options here. This one's disrupted in here, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, brown's firing into there. And to be honest, I can't. Hang on. Alright, sorry, more distractions. Okay, so you'll notice I've got some blue cubes marking some positions. I think the first one I looked at was down here. Thinking about trying to do something about this tank, who's lost a step. Now we would need to get 2 tanks. Now, here's the other thing here. This is from the 4th Division. This is from the 2nd Division. You would have thought there might have been something to say that putting both of these into reserve would not maybe give, because it's 2 different divisions, But it does just say, for every 2 tank units in reserve, 1 tank replacement is received that game turn. So, yeah, each step normally replaces a step of the loss of the appropriate type of unit. Yeah, so, yeah, we would get 1 tank replacement point. But there's nothing to really say maximum 1 tank. A maximum of 1 tank and 1 engineer replacement may be received each day. So I'll need to remember that. I'm not quite sure how we go about tracking all this, to be honest. So here's the markers that you've got, and you've got a bunch of these reserve markers that I'm going to put on these units. Well, yeah, I'm going to try it out and pick 2 or 3. Whether I'm going to pick all of them or not. Let me put that back like that just now. We're make a mess of things. Yeah, so you've got these. These are also for the army units, which aren't in play yet, so we can kind of take them out the way just now. So you've got infantry replacements, engineer replacements, and tank replacements. They only last for the turn though, admittedly. So when I put that on the track, well, you know what? I'm not doing it this turn, am I? I'm not actually getting the points this turn. Just putting these units in reserve. Come the next game turn, I'll then add up the points that I've got, and then I have to do them in that turn. What I've got to remember by myself, it looks like, is I can only do one engineer point and one tank point a day. One tank and one engineer replacement may be received each day, and I can only do a maximum of 2. Alright, a maximum of 2 infantry replacement steps may be received for each full battalion per day. So, I mean, you're just going to have to sort of remember that, I think. There's not really a way of tracking that. I guess you probably will remember it, but yeah, well, yeah, I don't think there's any sort of way of monitoring it. I suppose I could take a note and say, right, I've repaired. I think you would remember your tank and your engineer point if you'd done them for the day. Just the fact you've got different battalions, yeah. There's maybe not going to be as much yet going on as I initially thought, though. Yeah, so looking back at this again, right, we're going to try and repair, and bear in mind it means that my next US action phase, these 2 tank units are going to not be able to do anything. You know, it'd be great if these were disrupted right now, because, in some way, because then I'd have a double reason to do it, you know. I would get them out of disruption, and I would have them ready for a replacement point. Now, I don't need to use, well, like I say, I'm not quite sure about the whole division thing. I need to put this guy into reserve, because he's the one that I'm going to give the replacement point to. But I could pick another tank. I could pick this, for instance. Now, these aren't in the field of fire, a Japanese unit. So I think I'm probably just going to pick both of them rather than pick. I mean, this whole 4th division and 2nd division, I don't know. You know, maybe I could play it safer and say, well, I'll do both of these because I'm from the same division. But you know what? I'm not going to bother that, because I don't read anything in the rules that says it. It just says put 2 tanks into reserve and you'll get a tank replacement point. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to give this a go and put these 2 in reserve. Yeah, and then this other one, well, we've got an engineer in here. And yeah, so, and he's not in the field, he's in the red and blue, but you can see red's unoccupied and blue's occupied by us. And he's got a set loss, obviously. So I think I'm going to put him in reserve, and I'm going to find another engineer, because we need 2 engineers to get the point and 2 tanks to get the tank point, which we've done. Now, I think I had them marked. Ideally, I'd be looking for one that was under disruption, of course, but yeah, if it's in the field of fire, then it's not any good. Right, I'm pretty sure one of them is in, I want to say it's maybe in this hex. No, maybe not. Oh yeah, it is. Ah, yeah, that was a bummer though, but this is reduced as well. Again, I guess these are going to be from different divisions too. But I don't see anything it has to. It just says, yeah, for every 2 engineer units in reserve, 1 engineer replacement is received. And you'll notice the replacement points, they don't differentiate between division. They just differentiate between the army and the Marine Corps. So, yeah, and these 2, I think this is a good bit, because I think I'm going to put these into reserve. Let me just have a look what's in that again. Right, so that's what these 2 units are in this hex, and these are all disrupted in this hex. Now you'll notice this is K36, I36, L36, and the HQ36. So that's the 4. If we put all them into reserve, we will get 2 points. Now, and this disruption will come off as well. So this is where it works kind of well, like I say, because I wouldn't be able to do any of the guys anyway. As for this LVTA, again, we're still not sure. Haven't had an answer to that question yet. We're still not sure if they should be around or not. There's no real point in putting that in reserve, though. I don't know if it does any good. I mean, if I thought I could... Thing is, it does say you can only put 1 tank replacement point per day, so I've already set that up, so I don't think I can put them to use anyway. So what I'll do is, I'm going to remove disruption from them. I'm going to leave the disruption on that, I think. Down there. Yeah. This could be slightly awkward, Grant. In fact, this might be a case where you want to put these in first. Right, and then we've got L36. And you can see these are all pretty battered. This is taking 2 step losses, so is that, and that's taking a step loss. So if we put these into reserve, and again, there's no field of fire, we've got purple, which we are occupying, and green, which is empty. So if I put them into reserve there, and I'll just put this disrupted guy on the top because we're probably going to be doing something with it first. Well, we will be. The reserve units can't do anything within the US action phase. And then same here, we're going to put these into reserve. Put that guy down the bottom. Yeah. And then that should work out quite nice because so they're not really, they're at the back here as well. So we'll get 2 replacement points for them. And we'll see how it all works. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, just playing the game for the first time, I don't know when it's a good idea to make use of this and when it's not. So hang on, we've got our 1 engineer, haven't we? And this was the other engineer in here, wasn't it? So I think I'll go with that then. So I'm going to put him in reserve as well. Unfortunately, we're only going to get 1 point, so I'm only going to be able to repair 1 of them, and the other one will stay just a single step, and that guy can go back on top. Alright, okay. So we'll leave it at that. I mean, there might be some more. Well, to be honest, that's us done our engineer, done our tank, so we can't do anything more with that. Well, we could. What we could do is put 2 tanks as well. Well, can we? Yeah, hang on. No, do you not have to use the points up though? Yeah, received replacements must be used the game turn they are received. Yeah, and we can only repair 1 tank per day and 1 engineer per day, which is what we've got set, so there's no point in us doing any more of them. However, we could look about for other battalions to try and repair them, but I found that most of them are sitting in the field of fire, so if not the whole battalion, then at least maybe 1 of the companies. You know, this one down here, like I said, the HQ and 2 of the companies are in there, but which is enough. I could put them in reserve, no problem, but I can't put the third company, which is in here, because it's in the field of fire. Okay, right, I think that's it. So I think that's us done our HQ phase. Okay, and that's probably me at just over an hour as well, isn't it? So time to wrap this up, or will we chuck the event in? Yeah, because it's only an hour, isn't it? Right, this command range markers. I'm just looking at it. It was way over here somewhere. It's sometimes I bring the tripod in here into this area, so I'll need to kind of watch that. But yeah, especially when more we put more command posts out, and I could get in a muddle. It might be worth considering tracking that some other way, maybe. Okay. Right, well, I'll draw the event card and we'll see. The thing is, you maybe get 2 or 3 events. Well, you know what? I'll draw it, and if we can deal with it quickly, yeah, I mean within 10 or 15 minutes, then that's fine. If it's something that's going to take longer, then I'll maybe just keep it for the next part. Okay, draw an event card, implement the event, listed for the current game turn. We are on game turn 5, aren't we? So, right, here we go. Right, I can't see that yet. I'll zoom in. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, it's a really good one. Wow. Because I thought maybe the bottom one, when I seen Japanese tank attacks, but then there's no tanks there yet. That's a very good one. Because between turns 2 and 11, which we are, we're going to get an airstrike point, and between turns 2 and 11, we're going to get a naval gunfire point, and it's not turn 7 yet. Excellent. Well, let's just double check. Airstrike. US player gains 1 airstrike marker. Now I gave myself the 1 for the new day, didn't I? Yes. We're sitting at 1 with both of them. And then naval gunfire. Let's just say naval gunfire, doesn't it? Because there's an event called naval gunfire error. I just had to look at there again just in case. No, it's just naval gunfire. So US player gains 1 naval gunfire marker. So yeah, that's really good. So there we are, just stretching up there. We're going to move both of these up to 2. So yeah, and like I say, the other event doesn't trigger because it's not turn 7 yet. And well, I'm of no tanks. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do regarding these tanks. I mean, we've got 1 tank mixed into the reserve pool, but I just don't think that should be there. And yeah, what are these for? Yeah, these on the map. Now it says in the terrain key there are Japanese tank entry location. But I mean, if I was reinforcing and drawing a reserve and I drew that tank, and let's just say I was reinforcing this position, you know, you would think the tank would go in here, but this seems to sort of lead you to believe that this is where tanks arrive. It does say Japanese tank entry location. I'm looking at the back of this setup display to see example of Japanese tank attacks, but yeah, I think this does sort of explain things a little bit, and maybe they are just relevant to this event, the spots, because it talks here. I just seen it glancing. So here, I've not really read into it. The landing colour is blue. Yeah, so I must look at that. So then I think it starts looking at this. See, it says the player randomly picks 2 Japanese tank units. So that's picking 2 Japanese tank units. So they can't be mixed in that cup, can they? You know? So it says randomly picks 2 Japanese tank units and places them in the blue assembly point, placing a revealed marker on both units. So that's talking about putting them in there, and that's where they end up. And then, yeah, and they put revealed depth markers on top of them, don't they? That's to signify something slightly different, I think. Yeah, so maybe that's just what they're for, but I mean, if I go mixing, come game turn 6, if I mix these tanks into the cup as well, how do we randomly select between tanks? I'd need to fish them all out of there. I mean, we're missing something, aren't we? Or, well, maybe it's just me, but I don't think Martin's led me any better way with this, so I think he's still in the dark. Maybe you know something about the tanks, Martin. I don't think he's mentioned anything to me anyway. So, well, he's seen what I done, and I shuffled it in. I shuffled the tank. No, it's a depth marker, so I shuffled it in here. Although his belief is that these probably should be randomly set up. But then again, one of them was the tank, wasn't it? Ah, yeah, that one up top. Yeah, so how can we do this Japanese tank attacks? Or do you randomly pick 2 tanks that are on the map? I suppose, maybe. It does just say the player randomly picks 2 Japanese tank units. Maybe I should read this more. Well, actually, no, I think the start of it doesn't really tell you anything. Right, okay. Okay, well that's a good event. We'll accept that one. And yeah, so next phase is going to be Japanese fire phase. However, I'll cut the part now. I'll stop there. And again, yeah, here's the bit now where it's starting to get, you know, we need to know if these are here. Some other think, well, I'm just accepting this being here, but I mean that's a question that's out there for Joe as well about how you deploy these reserves. I'm not quite sure how. I think I've talked about already how I could deal with this if this unit shouldn't be here. I suppose, in all fairness, I should probably move it the same as I should do with this one. I mean, they are both revealed after all. And I don't think we've drawn any reserves since, because I think that was the 2 that we placed, and they both happen to be 4 strength elites. So I could, and then I could, well, put these where they're meant to go, and then randomly draw another 2 units for there and place them face up. That's about the best I could do. The other way of doing it is just leaving them there, but yeah. But we still need to know how it works, so yeah. Okay. Right, I'll leave that for now, and I'll be back with the next part, 29. I should get more on today. Unfortunately, my day with the friends collapsed as something happened, which I'll not go into. It will mean, John Brown, if you're watching, that I was almost putting Red Storm away there. The map's still there. I to be honest, I kind of forgot. Put everything away in the box and then realised I had left the map onto the plexi, which is, yeah. So, but maybe that was fortunate, because I could probably start setting that up again, because I don't really need the free table anymore. Because I'm just here myself, all by myself. Okay, right, I'll be back later. Cheers.